Okay, I just wanted to get this video out here. You might hear my husband down there. He's in a video call, but I'm gonna keep pushing this forward. I'm not gonna let this stop me. Okay. I wanted to do a follow-up because I received a few messages and even a phone call from my mom about part two, telling me the fact that the end of the video got cut off. The part where I pull out the pages and I show everyone how they're dried and how pretty they are. A rookie mistake. I basically didn't, I uploaded the video and I didn't check to see if it uploaded to the end or what happened there. So here I am. I really wanted you to see this part because it's actually the fun part. I know that I promised or alluded to the fact that I was going to show you the papers being pulled out. I know that at the time when I was recording that video, I had difficulty even logistically trying to figure out how am I going to show this. At one point, I remember having the phone in my mouth and I'm kind of pulling these papers out. I was like, this isn't going to work. So I have this tray here to kind of mime to you the situation of what actually happened. The papers had been soaking for a day or two. It became time to like pull them out of the dye bath. And I took the trays down outside to my drying rack, which is a clothes drying rack, and I had clothespins ready. And basically, I just took random clumps. There were probably about 3 to 5 pages in each clump. Again, I remember when I did the dye baths, I would mix maybe a harder cardstock, then the lighter gauzy paper would be in there, then maybe a normal sheet of copy paper would be in there. So there were different weights and consistencies. And just by kind of remembering a little bit what was in there and trying to grab onto something sturdier and peeling them off, again, groups of 3 to 5, and close pinning them to the rack and letting them, and then just don't fiddle fuddy with them. Leave them there. Don't try and separate them because they will turn to mush. And trust yourself that once they dry, could take two days, depending on your climate. That would be the time to slowly peel them apart. Sorry, I'm wiping my face because it's super hot. I should take this off, but I don't like my arms, so I'm covering those up. Anyway, so that's what's going on. I will show you this tail end of the video that got cut off. Check out the pretty papers. I thought we got great results. I am in love with the black bean blue color. And then move on to part 3 and part 4 if you wanted to give some Suminagashi a shot with these dyed papers. All right, thanks again for informing me. Those of you that wrote me comments, shout out to my mom for letting me know that it was cut off. And thanks again for being here. Enjoy. So I thought I would just take you down to where I've been drying my papers. Show you a little bit of around my place where I get my inspiration as well. And this little nook is where we also store our wood in the winter. Multi-purpose. So after they soaked for roughly 2 days, I brought them back out here to my drying rack, where I keep them kind of in partial shade, at least protected from the elements. And this is just a normal closed drying rack. And I'll leave them here until they are ready to be brought in. So the papers are now dried. I brought them back up to my studio. And here in front of me, I've also pulled out a few natural dyed papers I did a few weeks ago. I just wanted to see how the colors were comparing, and more or less they're in the same color schemes for sure. This was a black bean dye bath I did about a month ago, and the colors are pretty comparable. I think I didn't use as many beans, and I maybe didn't soak it as long. These seem a little bit darker. The same with the avocado. It came out a little bit paler in this previous bath. This one's a little bit darker and a little bit rustier colors, which I also like both of them. And the tea bath. I know that I used a lot more tea in this second bath than I did in this first bath. So it's just interesting to see that the shades are more or less the same, but you will have some variations depending on how much of the different contents you use, whether they're beans or avocado skins or tea bags. So once they're up here in my studio, I just take my time prying apart these delicate papers from the more sturdier papers. And sometimes I leave them, sometimes I take them apart. And I just work on separating them into their different types of paper. For example, this is a tissue paper, and it's just coming apart here. Much more easier than if I were to try and do it while they're wet. It would have been impossible. But if you have a little patience and you don't play with them too much, you can get these great results if you let them just dry on their own. So I set them aside. Here's this nice old music paper. Comes right off. Some old book pages. And we're getting down to some lighter Japanese paper. Then there's some tissue paper on here too. Well, it's just really pretty. And I'll just take my time and pry these apart. And into some of these tea bag papers. Diving in here into this tea bath batch. And there's some lovely sepia colors coming through. This is the Japanese rice paper, and it's a little hard to tell where these separating, but we'll get there. And even if things don't separate as planned and little bits remain, even that makes it, can make a very interesting texture for collage work and just in your art. Isn't that so pretty? And finally, let's take a look at this black bean dye bath. It's just such a lovely blue. Some more old book pages. This one got a little sticky, but that's okay. This is that really nice handmade paper from the Amalfi Coast. It's beautiful. Yes, it's got a little rip, but that's okay. So let's just take one last look at all these gorgeous colors and textures we pulled out of these dye baths. I am so excited to see what else I can do with these and show you some new techniques that you can incorporate into your work as well.